Hey, what is going on, all you bus nuts, geeks, and enthusiasts out there? Welcome to another episode of Motor Coach World. My name is James. No matter what you do as a profession, there will always be good days and bad days. I mean, you can have the job of your dreams and there will still be things that will drive you absolutely up the wall. Every job will have its nuances. No matter how much you love what you do, if there's enough of these little annoyances on your job, well, then it probably won't be the job for you in the long run. The same goes for being a motor coach operator. I mean, there are definitely a lot of perks to this job. For one, you're not stuck in an office or a building all day, which really appeals to me. You're left on your own and you're not being followed around by a manager over your shoulder all day long. One of the best perks of being a motor coach operator, at least in my opinion, is you get to see all kinds of cool places like amusement parks and watch sport games and go sightseeing all over the country. But if you don't like to drive, then all these perks that I just listed are kind of a moot point. But aside from driving, having a career behind the wheel of a motor coach definitely comes with its own list of things and annoyances that can really turn a coach driver's day into a nightmare. So today, I'm going to go over 4 things that really drive me crazy as a coach bus operator. When you spend your day maneuvering a 45-foot coach bus, finding a place to park is definitely one of the hardest things you have to do. Especially being a motor coach operator where you're often far from home and in a place that is unfamiliar to you. Fortunately, some destinations such as airports, sports marinas, museums and such, places that are used to and prepared for regular visits from motor coaches will provide a designated bus parking and drop-off place. These bus drop-off spots are usually closer to the establishment and give the large groups that are walking off the buses a quick and convenient way to enter and exit the building. With that said, one of the most annoying things to see is when someone in their POV or personally owned vehicle decide that they want to park their cars in a place designated for a bus. My friend Kiwan, who is a city transit driver, also has a really cool YouTube channel called Bus Driver Life, which all of you should check out. Link will be up here and down in the description box below. Now, he's touched on this topic in one of his most recent videos.
This is a clearly marked designated bus stop for a transit bus. I'm a transit bus operator. I'm driving a transit bus. There's people standing at the bus stop that need to board the bus, and you've parked your vehicle there, and you're upset at me because I need to get there.
Definitely go check out that video if you get a chance. But whether you drive a school bus, a city bus like my friend Kiwan, or a motor coach like myself, it definitely adds a lot more stress to our day when we have to maneuver our bus around your car to find a different place to drop off our passengers because someone in a POV was too lazy to park where they're supposed to.
Logic clearly dictates that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah, you tell them, Spock. Most motor coaches are governed to a certain speed, which means they're set where an operator cannot go faster than the speed they're governed to. At Pure Charter, our fleet is governed to 70 miles an hour. Even if we wanted to, we can't go faster than 70 miles an hour, no matter how hard we push on that accelerator. So when I'm behind the wheel of a motor coach, once I get on the interstate, I usually choose a speed that I want to cruise at based on the speed limit, the traffic, and road conditions. Once I find that safe and comfortable cruising speed, I'll usually set the cruise control and proceed on my merry way. Now, during my trip, there will be cars that will be going faster than me and cars that are going slower than me. What drives me, and I'm sure many other motor coach operators out there, absolutely crazy is when I'm trying to pass a car that's obviously driving slower than my cruising speed, because, you know, I caught up to it and am in the process of passing it, the driver in that car suddenly decides to speed up. Now, I put in over 1 million miles behind the wheel of a motor coach, and over the years, I've learned that some people have this complex where they just can't accept the fact that a bus is passing them.
No!
It's like it hurts their ego and makes them insecure or something. I've also noticed that this tends to happen more often when I'm trying to pass a luxury car or a really beefy pickup truck. Now, I don't really care what kind of vehicle you're driving. I'm not trying to race you. I'm just trying to keep my cruising speed and maintain a safe following distance. So when people who are driving slower than a bus on the interstate see a bus starting to pass them, they should just let it happen. Because I gotta ask, for those of you who can't accept the fact that a bus is passing you, what kind of satisfaction do you get when you show a bus that you can outpace them? My favorite ones are those that hit their accelerators really hard enough to really rev their engines up to show how much power they have under the hood. You know what, buddy? That's very impressive. You can outrun a motor coach. That's like saying, hey, look at me. I can run faster than a fat guy. Well, this does several things to a motor coach operator while they're trying to pass. First, it keeps me in the left lane, the passing lane. And when that happens, everybody behind me in the passing lane who wants to go faster than 70 miles an hour is mad at me, wondering why this giant motor coach is in the passing lane and not doing any passing. Well, that's because the guy I'm trying to pass is speeding up and won't let me, but there's no way I can really explain that on the interstate. Secondly, I now have to decide whether I need to tap on the brakes to slow down a bit so that I can get back in the right lane to let all the traffic behind me through, which makes those behind me even more frustrated because now I'm slowing down in the passing lane. No, guys, I'm trying to do all of you a favor because this person with an inferiority complex next to me sped up after I tried to pass him. And finally, when I do make it back in the cruising lane because I don't want to keep all those people behind me stuck behind me in the passing lane, one of two things will probably happen. All the people that were stuck behind me in the passing lane are now passing me, and I usually get a few dirty looks, and if I'm lucky, sometimes I'll get a nice gesture. And I'm not going to demonstrate what gesture that is. And now the person who had to prove that their vehicle can outpace a bus when I tried to pass them will usually revert back to their comfort speed, which was slower than my cruising speed to begin with, which means, guess what? I'm gonna need to pass them again. So as a professional commercial driver, I have a decision to make at this point. Do I see if this person's inferiority complex has been satisfied and try to pass them again? Or do I reduce my cruising speed by 5 or 10 miles an hour so that I can just stay behind this car? Sometimes if I do try to pass a car like this for the second time, the driver will either make a rude gesture towards me or look at me like, what are you doing? They just don't seem to understand that I'm just trying to maintain my speed and that they're the ones that keep speeding up. And that if they don't want me to pass them, then they either should maintain a speed that is faster than mine or slow down and let me pass and be on my merry way. The point is, I am not trying to race, and if I were, a motor coach wouldn't have been my vehicle of choice. Motor coach operators spend their careers catering to those they transport. It's our jobs to drive the bus safely as well as making sure our passengers feel taken care of on the way there and back. The passengers riding on the coaches will usually provide the bus company with their itinerary days before their trip so that the driver can review it and make sure they know where they're going on the date of departure. Well, sometimes when the driver receives their itinerary, it makes you wonder if the passengers understand that there's a living human being that's driving that bus. So what I'm getting at is motor coach operators in the US are allowed to drive for 10 hours straight, and then by law, they have to stop for 8 hours of uninterrupted rest. Motor coach operators in the US are also allowed to be on duty for a total of 15 hours straight, which counts as driving time as well as any other time where the driver's not driving but still tending to their passengers and their bus. Doing things like unloading luggage or washing and cleaning the bus, you know, that kind of stuff. Well, there have been times where the group tells me that they brought food and drinks with them and that they do not want to stop at all during this 10-hour trip. Well, understand that as a motor coach operator, my meal breaks and restroom needs are at the mercy of the passengers' meal stops and rest stops. Even if I packed my own food because the passengers don't want to stop at all on the way to their destination, there's no real way for me to eat it while I'm behind the wheel of a motor coach. We don't have co-pilots like airline crews do where we can take turns behind the controls. And if I do dare to scarf down my sandwich and chips while I'm driving my passengers, it would look extremely unprofessional and, by some company standards, unsafe and be considered distracted driving. So when situations like these occur, I will always politely inform the group leader on the bus before I even depart. Sir or madam, just to let you know, for your safety and mine, I will be making a few 15-minute stops along the way to stretch and use the restroom. Also explain that in the interest of getting all the passengers to your destination in a timely manner, I would suggest that during these 15-minute stops, all of you please remain on board the coach. I mean, you're all more than welcome to disembark if you need to, but understand that the stop will no longer be a 15-minute stop, as it'll take about 30 to 45 minutes for everyone to reboard the coach if everyone's going to get off. Now, most of the time, the group leaders are absolutely fine with that. However, I have had a few times that they tried to object to my 15-minute break stops and asked me why I needed to take restroom breaks. Now, this was a year ago with a different bus company, but the lady actually asked me, "Aren't you guys trained to make these kind of trips without restroom breaks?" I really wanted to respond at that point, yeah, but I failed my bladder control exercises during my motor coach training course. But that would have been rude, and I kept to my excellent customer service. Speaking of itineraries, as someone who is trained to operate a 45-foot long vehicle that stands between 11 feet to 13 feet tall, there are a lot of things that I have to consider when I'm routing and planning my trip based on the passenger's itinerary. Sometimes on the interstates, road construction and bad weather will cause unforeseen delays. Now, when I'm planning a trip, I always look for road construction and weather for the day and try to take all that into account. And Google Maps, as well as many different weather apps, usually does a pretty good job at letting me know what to expect along the way as far as delays go. But there is currently no app out there that will predict when and where an accident will occur that will cause a traffic backup. And on several occasions during a traffic delay, I've actually had passengers ask me why I chose this route and when the traffic jam will be over. And you thought only retail workers had to deal with difficult customers. But the thing that will really drive your driver crazy is when you start to tell the driver to take a backcountry dirt road or squeeze down a narrow residential street with cars parked on both sides of the road. I have learned early on not to let your passengers talk you into taking a shortcut. I actually learned this the hard way because I did let one of them talk me into it once, and it resulted in me backing up for 1.5 miles down a narrow residential street with cars parked on both sides because I was too tall to fit under an overpass. Now, the guy that told me to trust him at some point said to me, "I don't get it. I've taken this shortcut hundreds of times." Yeah, well, maybe you forgot that I'm not driving a minivan like you were.
I roll hard through the streets and the cul-de-sacs.
In situations like these, it really can be a no-win scenario for the driver. Sometimes there's just no quick and easy way out of a traffic jam. And when your passengers try to persuade you to take a different route that you may not be comfortable with in a giant vehicle like a motor coach, you have to consider the safety of your passengers and your bus first, which may result in your group being upset at you, and it just makes for an awkward rest of the trip, unless they get over it. And for many motor coach drivers that really rely on that tip from the group at the end of their trip, sometimes trying to do the right thing may cost you your gratuity from your group, which is unfortunate. Now, if you're a motor coach driver watching this, please feel free to leave me some things that drive you crazy on the job behind the wheel of your motor coach. I'm really looking forward to reading some of your comments from the motor coach operators out there. You can leave them down in the comment box below, or you can post it on Motor Coach World's Facebook page, facebook.com/motorcoachworld. Please hit that like button if you guys like this topic, because I have a huge list of so many more things that would drive a motor coach driver crazy. Would love to make many more of these episodes like this one. Also, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe. If you want to get yourself some really cool Motor Coach World hoodies to get ready for the autumn weather, check out my merch store, bonfire.com/store/motorcoachworld. And finally, if you want to support this channel, consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page, patreon.com/motorcoach. All the links will be listed down in the description box below. If you're watching this, then you are part of the Motor Coach World.